Hold on to your hats, boys. You're about to hear a Texas woman get ornery. Howdy, y'all. Mandy from She Makes in Texas here. And tonight I'm a little perturbed. A few weeks ago for my birthday, I got a Lincoln Electric welding jacket for some of the new welding in the plasma cutter that I got. And then today I went to one of our local welding supplies and I got a pair of Lincoln Electric gloves, ladies' gloves, to go with it. I had looked at them on Amazon, but number one, Lincoln doesn't have any sort of size chart whatsoever for the gloves. So they come in small and medium, but then reading through the reviews, you honestly couldn't tell what size fit who. I mean, I have tiny little hands, and sometimes I wear a small, like in nitrile gloves, I'll wear a small. In heavy, thick nitrile gloves, I'll have to go up to a medium. In my my cut-resistant gloves, I have to have an extra small, and even that's too big. So no one has a size chart for the Lincoln Electric out there. I do remember I actually bought a different set of gloves, which is in my video, but they're not gonna get reviewed, because the video I made, I did something wrong with my microphone, and so there's no sound. So I get to narrate for you. Sorry, guys. But the other gloves in the description on Amazon, one of the commenters had posted the measurements of her hand and said, this is the size that fit me. Well, her hand was bigger than my hand, so I ended up going the size down, and still those gloves look like bear paws on me. And they were the next best ones on Amazon that were most popular for women. And they weren't that great either. They fit in the length of the fingertips and everything, but they're just giant on the outside. So I decided that I needed something that fit a little better, especially you don't want loose things when you're playing with fire and machinery. So I may end up using those for the barbecue grill, but I went to buy the Lincolns today. One of the reasons why I didn't buy them online was because I couldn't size them. So I went to both of our big welding supplies in town, which is Airgas and Praxair, and Airgas didn't have any women's items at all. Even though they're a Lincoln Electric dealer, they had the welders on the floor and they had the men's stuff, but no women's stuff. And I understand, because around here, I guess they don't get a lot of call for women. However, when I went to the other store today, as I was walking in, there was a girl and her mom in there that she had just finished, she had just finished her trade school welding. And she was going tomorrow to do her welding test for a company that was hiring her, or looking to hire her, I guess. So she was buying some new stuff. She also was buying the Lincoln Electric stuff, and it fit terrible for her too. So it was really disappointing that in my area we do have women that are going through trade school and doing welding, and there are women out there that are welding. Back in World War I, while the men were off fighting, the women were welding. So it's not like we're new to this. But no one caters even the slightest bit to women when it comes to welding protective equipment. And I say that because the only game in town is Lincoln Electric, and they suck. So normally If y'all have ever met anybody from Texas, you know that we are friendly and polite, and we don't usually try to cause a fuss. But I am so very disappointed in this line of products from Lincoln that I can't believe that a company with a name like theirs and a reputation like theirs would allow this quality control problem to happen. So I'm going to get into the video and I'm going to narrate for you the issues that I found with the jacket. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about the gloves that I bought today and how a pair of large Vulcan gloves from Harbor Freight probably are going to work better for me. And actually, these gloves are really well made from Harbor Freight, but a man-sized large glove is going to keep me safer than the gloves that were supposedly made for me. And I will show you why in a little bit. Okay, I sped the video up a little so that you wouldn't have to listen to me rant and rave the whole time. Basically, right here, I'm looking at the jacket. I'm trying to figure out what its materials are and where it was made at. And I just took this jacket out of the packaging that I got it in. It came in a bag with a snap top on it with a hanger. And if you notice throughout the video, I will sit there and pick off little pieces of lint the whole time because there are just threads all over the thing. Right here, what I'm showing you are the Velcro patches and how poorly they're sewn on. There's this huge seam allowance around these patches of Velcro that shouldn't be like that. They could have either trimmed the Velcro afterwards, or they could have made a closer, sewn closer to the edge. You shouldn't have Velcro kind of flapping around. Now I'm going through and looking at the seamstress chalk on the pocket. That was great. And I'm also showing here where the Velcro is. There's seamstress chalk or sewing chalk there too. And what you use sewing chalk for is just like you use soapstone in welding. You mark where you want something to go, and that's where it's supposed to get sewn on. And most of the time, there's like a little brush, or some of the little crayons with the chalk in them have a brush on the end, or you can just rub it off with your fingers, because that's not supposed to be shown in the final products. You don't leave chalk on a garment that you've sewn. Now I'm looking at all the seams and everything. I was looking at the serging. The inside seams were serged, and the serging looked pretty good. Now I'm looking at I'm still picking off little fuzzes in pieces of thread that should have been cleaned off. They should have been clipped. What I'm looking at right now, and what I just did with my hands, were that collar, when it was sewn on, the stitching that goes all the way down that collar, the top thread on the sewing machine was not engaged. It was the top thread wasn't there. It was broken off. So basically the bottom part stitched through the little loops, and those are sitting there raw because the top thread didn't lock them in, which means that whole collar is going to come off on me unless I re-sew it myself. That whole seam is just gonna go. So it's gonna fray. It's because in the raw parts of the fabric, I never saw any parts that had any anti-fray on them or anything. So let's see, I'm not really sure what I'm talking about now. I'm looking at the other seams and the other serging, and now I'm looking at the buttons on the side, which I do like that feature, that the sides will kind of tuck in a little bit so that you're not in this giant swing around vest coat thing. And looks like I'm about to put it on here. So, you know, there are some features of this jacket that are really nice for women. Oh, right here I'm completely having a conniption fit over the Lincoln Electric embroidery on there. I've spent many years doing promo products, embroidery, t-shirts, things like that, putting logos on stuff. And what I was saying there was that I was basically just laughing at the fact that their QA basically required all of the embroidery of their logo to be absolutely perfect, but they didn't care if the rest of the garment was crap. So there's that. Looking at the collar again, I'm putting it on. It fits nicely. I bought a size up so that I could wear a sweatshirt or something underneath it. I'm looking at these sleeve buttons now, which are really nice. Being able to lock those sleeves in a little better so they don't kind of flop around, get outside the gloves, whatever. That's really nice. But if you'll notice, I'm having a really hard time snapping those buttons, and that was quite annoying. Oh, now here I'm talking about the one pocket, and, you know, maybe I could carry my purse with me or something. So, because there's no pen pocket at the top or instrument pocket. There's some, I don't know what that's for down there. Also with the terrible Velcro on it. So now I'm putting on the gloves that I bought that were not the Lincoln Electric gloves, but the ones that looked best on Amazon for women. And you can see that they look like big old bear paws. Overall, I like the fit of the jacket. I like the look of the jacket. I think it looks really pretty. But I think it looks really nice. And it serves a function well. For the price that was paid for this jacket, I don't think the craftsmanship is up to par. I think it's terrible. I would have failed home ec if I would have sewn that jacket like that. Or if I would have sewn anything the way that jacket is finished and left all those threads hanging and everything else, I definitely would have failed home ec in high school. And my grandmother probably would have slapped me into next Sunday if she saw how poorly I sewed something like that. So, I mean, that's just embarrassing, Lincoln. Come on. So now I'm looking at the Velcro again, and also the collar. And I think I'm about to say something again about the Velcro being flappy. And here in a second I will show that, where it just... the more that fabric has to pull, it's gonna pull. And that's actually fairly good Velcro on there. I mean, it was nice and strong, and the buttons are nice and strong. See, I'm still pulling off threads. Threads are hanging everywhere. There were pieces of it that just weren't sewn properly. Now I'm laughing because it's just comical that the one company that had the major chance to break into the market and cater to women, the first line of products they've put out is terrible. So, here I'm about to show the Velcro again. And the way that it's sewn on with... It's an 1/8 to 1/4 inch extra of sewing, of the seam allowance on that. It shouldn't be that way. I'm looking at that collar again, and it's not showing up on camera, but you know, that whole thing, I'm gonna have to take it over and I'm gonna have to sew it again myself, because it just, you should never let a garment go out of your QC if it's missing an entire row of stitches. So the more I mess with that jacket, those stitches are going to slip, and the whole collar is just going to come off. And it's not the whole collar, but one side of it's going to come off, and it's just going to fray and get nasty on me. And see, there I'm showing all that extra allowance on that Velcro that just shouldn't be there. I mean, that either should be trimmed or it should be sewn closer to the edge of the Velcro instead of right in the middle of it. That's terrible. See the look on my face? It's awful. I like the feature of the Velcro and then the buttons and the fold over. I notice when I watch a lot of other welders on YouTube, they don't bother to button up the front of their jackets. But I guess a lot of them are wearing or using t-shirts and stuff that they don't care about getting holes in them. But, you know, for a woman, you burn a hole in the front of your shirt and you tend to get a lot more looks than men do. That's just not good. So that was the jacket, and I promised that I'd talk about the gloves as well. So these are the gloves. I got them today at Praxair. And I gotta put one of these on so that you can see how comical this actually is. So they're tight. I mean, they actually have appropriate length fingers. My fingernails sort of hit, but I can cut my nails, or I have a couple of grinders. That's not a problem. But all right, look at that. What do you see wrong there? Apparently Lincoln or their contractor doesn't know human anatomy. See how all of those are exactly the same depth? Especially the pinky. So humans, they're the well between their pinky and their ring finger is deeper than the other fingers. Now, you could possibly get away with, you know, the well between your index finger and your ring finger being the same depth, but not the pinky. So I put this on. It is, wow, like that much too short. That's, holy cow. That is an inch too short. Easy. That's ridiculous. You go over to the men's welding gloves, they don't look like that. Had to stop myself from saying something awful. Anyway, this is ridiculous. Letting something like this get through QA, it's ridiculous. Because I don't care what your genetics are or your nationality. The majority of human beings on this earth have a lower pinky finger groove than the rest of their fingers. This is not normal. It's cartoonish. Or it's poor drawing. Terrible. Also, these are brand new off-the-shelf gloves. They're faded. Not seriously faded, but the lining stitching, it's not great. And in fact, look at this one. So all three pair that they had in stock had this fraying on the suede, and that's just not cool. That's not great leather working. I mean, I would expect that if I had been using these for a while, but look, they still have the tag on them. I mean, come on. They definitely don't match up to the jacket very well because they sort of kind of turned into a little pinkish there. But that's just the quality control in the Lincoln Electric women's products is terrible. And, you know, who I really feel bad for, I mean, women have had to deal with this forever. It's when generally you're dealing with something that's normally a man's game, it's hard to find stuff for women to go with it. So, and that's not necessarily anybody's fault. I understand marketing and you know, fiscal concepts. But if you're going to step out and make something for women, then do it right. Don't half-ass it, Lincoln. Who I really, really feel sorry for is Jessie Combs, who has put her name on this entire line of products. And a woman with her resume, obviously, she's not blind. So, knowing what I know about commerce and product sales and things like that, my guess is that either Lincoln didn't show her the production products and only gave her samples, or she did see the final product, took one look at it, said it was crap, and they didn't care. And she couldn't say anything because she'd lose her other sponsorships from Lincoln, which are important. You know, when you're racing and building and everything else, that's what you live on. So, you know, in a somewhat former life, I built drag cars, I raced drag cars. I actually still have a drag car outside that we don't talk about a whole lot. But it's so disheartening to see somebody that puts their name behind something and really wants it to be good and nice, and then the company that's creating the product cuts corners and does something like this. Super total fail, Lincoln. Total fail. So today at Harbor Freight, because hey, $5 grinders, I found a pair of Vulcan MIG gloves, and apparently I found a freak pair, because this one is probably, I mean, this is a size large, and man, they're giant. They're not as big and giant as the ones I got off of Amazon that were supposedly as for women. In fact, they feel about the same. They're not as thick though. But I have so much more dexterity in these, and the ends of the tips are just not as much as other gloves are. Like I said though, this is probably a QC fail for Harbor Freight, because the way that this one is cut is definitely not accurate for a man size large. My fingertips are, you know, if I pull down on it, my fingertips are actually meeting at the right spots. Oh, look! And the pinky is lower! Oh, look at that! And the thumb actually sticks out, too. The weird thing about the Lincoln ones is that the thumb is strangely offset in the middle. It's not, I mean, it could have been straight out on the side. Don't get me wrong, but it's, the thumb on the Lincoln Electric ones isn't set right either. I mean, I know sewing. I know it's not easy to make handwear. But it still ain't rocket science. Come on. So, anyway, these are actually nice. They I will be able to hold things with these, even if they have just a little extra fingertip length in them. Now, why again I say that this is probably a QC fail for Harbor Freight that they missed, is because the right glove actually fits great, theoretically, and the left glove fits more like a man size large should fit, so it's giant on me. But I am right-handed, so the left hand is only going to be for holding stuff. And I mean, this maybe my left hand is smaller than my right hand. I don't know. Anyway, but see, like, it's nice and wide. There's room between the fingers and in the pad area, and you want to have that spread there across the front. And now, granted, these gloves are too big for me, so maybe that's why they've got, they feel so nice and I've got room to move in them. But still, now these were pretty expensive. I think they were on, oh, what is that, orange tag, not orange tag, but they were on pink tag. So, this month's special for $19.99. So I don't know what the original price is for them, but if the original price is $20, $25, $26, whatever, not sure I'm going to say that these are $26 gloves. But they are really nice. I mean, they're suede here. This is actual leather. I did notice when I was looking at there was only one other pair of large, and it had different inside. The light leather inside, the lining leather was different. And on the extra larges that they had just gotten in on the truck, it was different as well. So I may have gotten an old pair that have been sitting there for a while out of, say, the first couple of batches, or, previous manufacturer. So, I mean, the other ones were definitely different. So maybe that's why I got the one freak glove. But I decided to buy it because I like my freak glove. It fit good. So I'm going to keep them. I tried on the TIG gloves as well, and the TIG gloves were just ginormous on me. The large size TIG gloves were huge, but these ones are pretty good. They're definitely not as thick as the Lincolns or those other gloves I bought, so there's a better chance of me getting burnt, although it's, it's smooth leather instead of suede, so I imagine I'll get some use out of these before I burn holes in them. But still, I just, if you guys are out there looking for a new pair of gloves, these are a little more expensive than I would say you should spend. But if you're doing stick or MIG, and you need the thick gloves, then maybe go and get the Millers that I saw at Praxair today looked really nice. They just didn't have them small enough. And then also I've seen some Cobalt gloves. I haven't seen them in person, but I've seen a lot of people using them, so apparently they're pretty popular. And yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, the $5 for 3 pair of Harbor Freight gloves are better made than these Lincoln Electric ones. I mean, long time ago I got that 3-pack of suede gloves at Harbor Freight to do turkey frying with, and it works great for that. I mean, my hands still look like bear paws, but if Harbor Freight, if you make these in a smaller size, I'm in. I'm definitely in. I like these gloves. I really do, and I'd like to see the TIG ones as well. Harbor Freight is one of the few places that I can actually find gloves that fit me. They have the other white gloves, just the driving gloves. Those fit me great, and they actually make them in a size small, so when those go on sale, I buy a couple pair just to have them hanging around, because I do all kinds of stuff with gloves on, and that that leather will start to crack. I have some gloves that will stand up on their own, so I'm gonna save those for Halloween. You know, make yard art and scary things in the yard to pop out at you or whatever. But yeah, stiff gloves make great Halloween props. So anyway, that's the Lincoln Electric gloves and the Vulcan gloves, which just beat their pants off. I'm gonna try to break these in. There's nothing I can do about that whole pinky thing. It's basically like if you've ever live long and prosper. If you have your two fingers taped together, that's exactly what it's like when you're using that glove. I mean, if you don't need your ring finger and pinky for anything, which for the most part, I guess you don't. If you're using a MIG, you just need to pull the trigger, but they definitely don't have the dexterity. I can't spread my hand out. I can't grip, and I'm gonna try to break them in to see if I can get them to bend and grip a little better. I got some old school leather breaking in tips that I learned from my grandmother when I was very, very young. So maybe that'll help, but still, just look at that. Look at how those are made. That shouldn't be thin like that. I mean, if it is, then there should be, a rotation around and more curvature in the pattern. It's just awful. It's terrible. Now, I do want to thank the guys over at Praxair because they were super nice, and I think they got it. I mean, after having a young woman and her mom come in and they were buying stuff. I don't know. I wasn't there when they were leaving when I was coming in, so I don't know what the conversation was like there. But then I walk in and I'm like, "Hey, you got any welding gloves?" And I'm guessing that it's probably words gotten out around town and through the trade school that the only place in town that carries any women's stuff is Praxair, so that's probably where they go. So these guys kind of, he's like, yeah, I ordered some, just to have them on hand. And so they're trying. As I'm sitting there talking to them, showing them that pinky thing, and I'm like, go find me a pair of men's gloves. Find me the cheapest men's gloves you sell here. Tell me if that pinky's like that. Tell me if human anatomy in any way, shape, or form looks like that. And, they couldn't even find cheap, crappy gloves that were like that. So, yeah. And the regular Lincoln gloves, yeah, they're fine. They're built just fine. So, you tell me, Lincoln, why you allowed this to happen. Miller, if you're out there, I really like some of your stuff because I'm a very big fan of blue instead of red. Anybody makes maroon, I'm down for that. But still. Hey, Miller Welding. Make a women's line. You obviously can't do any worse than Lincoln did. So, if your marketing departments and stuff have been thinking about something like that, right now is the time to pounce, because regardless of whether anybody else is saying anything on YouTube or the internet or anything else, the word gets out. Those Amazon reviews were terrible for the Lincoln gloves. So, yeah, that's what it is. And I apologize that maybe I got too ornery, or maybe I didn't get ornery enough for some of you. I really was trying to be nice. So, thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.